Hello, I'm football commentator Derek Ray, and you're listening to the Foot Weekly Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to week 8 of the Foot Weekly Podcast. This is a content episode, and I am joined, as you'd expect, by content expert Josh Excels. Hello, Josh.
Yeah, good to be here. It's been an interesting week, all over the map.
Oh, yeah, all over. We'll potentially get on to what you're referring to there in a bit. Maybe talk about that a little bit. But what we'll mainly be talking about is UEFA Prime Time, the European competition campaign that's running. And very ironic that we have 3 Manchester United fans on this podcast to do that. The next one being ChuBoi. Welcome back. Good to have you back.
Yeah, I was happy too. You reminded me about no European football for our team, but you know what? Either way, we have there's a 𝘵𝚷 item in prime time for the women's team.
Very correct. Yeah, the women's team definitely carrying at the moment. And actually, talking of 𝘵𝚷, and let's talk about who we think is good value over this past week and do our pound for pound powerhouses. But of course, first we need to pick last week's winner. So we'll go to Chu and I'll run through who was nominated on last week's episode and you can decide who should win. The first nomination was for the 𝘵𝗱𝗰𝗀𝘀, the Spanish, well, I guess he plays all over the place, but mainly a winger. And then we also had the evolution or an evolved version of Ruben Loftus-Cheek. And then finally the SBC Scream Lukaku. So who would you be going for from that selection?
I mean, we'll talk about Man United. It would have been nice to pick Lukaku as a past and present player. Wasn't a great fan of this Lukaku item, to be honest with you, but I will actually pick that 𝘵𝗱𝗀𝘀 because I did try him out just a little bit, and he was pretty good. Him and another card, I don't know if I'll save the other card that linked with this guy that I thought was a good pound-for-pound player. I'll mention him right after, but that card and his 𝘵𝗀𝗀𝘀 actually did some good work for me. So I like the multiple positions. 99 shooting definitely felt like 99 shooting. No playstyle plus, but very good base playstyles. So I'm going to go with the 𝘵𝗀𝗀𝘀. Very underrated in my opinion.
Yeah, good shout. I used him actually throughout champs and he was really good. Like, yeah, you could feel the 99 shooting, which is interesting because all I've heard over the last week is these 99 stats aren't doing anything and my 99 pace player is actually 70 pace or whatever. So maybe we'll talk about that in a bit. But for now, we can move on to this week's pound for pound nominations. And we do come back to you two, let you pick first. Is there a player that you would like to nominate as particularly good value this week?
The player that I actually want to go with for this week, since it is prime time, is got to be, is it Cambiasso? Was the new SBC? Yeah, he kind of went under my radar at first, but then once I looked at the stats, and I realized that it is quick step plus for a fullback. That's insane. He can play left back and right back. Incisive, which is nice, but it's jockey, anticipate, and relentless, which is absolutely ideal. And then you forget that it is a live card as well. Juventus not doing great, but this card could get quite a few upgrades if we're lucky. So for the fact that it's 100K about, 4-star 5, and can play both sides of defense, I think it's an insane card for the price. You can see the upvote, downvote on FUT.GG, 97% up, 3% down. So I'll say that this is going to be in a lot of people's teams for the next few months.
Yep. I think that is a great nomination and one I probably would have made myself if you hadn't. So
my bad.
That's right. That's the problem with going last. But yeah, let's go to you, Josh. Who are you going to be nominating?
Yeah, I'd like a secondary shout out for him. I think number 2, number 3, number 4, number 6 in terms of positional rankings on GG rating kind of says an awful lot. And kind of a weird one in that if he doesn't get any upgrades, he'll probably fit a decent Evo in the not too distant future. So you kind of have a bit of, it doesn't really matter if they don't do too well. I'm going to go with another prime time. And I'll be honest, when I saw Cambiasso, I thought we'd got a hero that hadn't been leaked. And then I forgot that, he's actually a player in real life. So mine is going to be a hero, and it's this guy, Ludovic Giuly.
Just backed him.
He So he's always been a weird card because he's absolutely tiny. And in previous games, I've not really got on with him. I think he's had quite a few specials. I think he had one last year that I was all right with for a little bit and then didn't really like after that. But I really like this card. I've packed him. He's the only one that I've packed, even with the League SBC Grand being back, which I'm sure we'll get into later. He's just a lot of fun. Like, I like having hero cards that give that extra chemistry. It gives me like an ability to play. I mean, I packed what was he called? 𝘭𝘪𝘀𝗀𝗋𝘀 on the first week of the game, who has got like Jockey Plus at centre back, and I've always wanted to get him in there, but I've never packed Dembele, so I haven't had like a great French link. So to get 𝘵𝘰𝗬𝘀 just gives him that chemistry straight away. And he's been like decent fun. I think I used Ljungberg, who I'd packed from Scream the week before, and he was fun, but like I felt like he didn't really have the shot power or long shots to make the most of his Trivela, which was kind of the unique selling point. And there's a similar knock here against 𝘵𝘰𝗬𝘀, which is he's right-footed and has finesse shot, but can only play on the right-hand side. So you kind of have to use a weak foot finesse shot if you want to use it. So I can get if people are a little bit like unsure about it, but I had a lot of fun with him. That like finishing was really, really good across the keeper. Has quite a lot of play styles for like heroes and icons. Don't tend, like, especially in that low level, don't tend to have too many play styles. So the fact he's got a nice selection, like technical, quick step, I'm beginning to like Relentless more and more, especially considering how much distance my left and right mid cover, because for some reason they're allowed to defend on the edge of my own box, and then they're on the edge of my opponent's box within about 5 seconds. But yeah, he's good fun. And for 70k, like I do think that being linked to PSG's gonna like get quite a lot of upgrades. I do think that's priced in. He's not someone I think will like explode in price if PSG have a couple of good games in the Champions League, because I think it's priced in currently. But yeah, someone I was glad to have packed.
Yeah, I like that nomination too. I mean, the player I was going to nominate is someone, interestingly, that I kind of found through looking at the Cambiasso, because I'm looking at the Serie A links, and 𝘂 who's a CM, or can also play Cam and CDM. He's quite good. He's a big presence. He's 6'3", and he plays, I would say, best probably as a sort of deep line playmaker or box to box. But the playstyles he has, the important ones, well, actually all of them, he doesn't have loads, but they're good ones. He's got first touch, intercept, tiki-taka, incisive pass, and low driven. And while his kind of defensive stats aren't amazing, he has really, really good short passing, long passing, dribbling, pace, strength, etc. And I think with the fact that he's in the UECL, there is a chance that Fiorentina do something good and get some upgrades for him. And I think, with the right, extra or upgrade to his defensive stats, as well as an extra, play style, roles, etc., I think he could be really, really solid. And he's only, at the moment, 15k. I think some of the cheaper end ones, I mean, as we often say, just are good value, because the chances are that at least a couple of those are going to go up in price. It's also quite interesting because some of the ones that are like 84 rated can actually be evolved already. And I guess it may be worth, like, I always myself get slightly confused, Josh, as to how that works if you evolve players with live items, because there was a thing where it was like it would then cap the stats when they got their upgrade, but does it still work like that?
Yeah, so effectively what you want to think of is take the evolution that you did to whichever player it is and apply that evolution to their new card after they've been upgraded, and that is what they will look like. So let's say you put them into a passing, let's say there's a passing evolution that gives plus 10 passing, and you choose this 𝘭𝘪𝘬𝘦. He has 70 passing on his base card. Let's say the limit of this plus 10 passing is 75. So you could give him that Evo and he would go up to 75 passing. If he then goes up to 85, because, Lyon win 3 of their next 4 games, his passing will still stay at 75. He won't get the +1 because if you applied the 10 passing to his upgraded card that might have 71 or 72 passing, it would still limit at 75. So you won't get the full benefit of the boost, but you will, like, it's really difficult to, like, say you will get some benefit if the boost that they're being given either doesn't take them over the limit that you've put in the Evo. So, like, let's say that the limit was 85 passing and you gave him a +10 passing evolution, he would have 80 passing on your evolved version. When he then goes through the upgrade and gets a +1 in passing, he will go up to 81 passing because he's not hit that 85 limit from the previous Evo. It's incredibly confusing. I don't like the fact that you can evolve live cards. I just don't think it should be something that's a possibility, but that is how it works.
Yeah, and also actually I guess it's worth noting that, for, let's say, single playstyle upgrades or anything which doesn't really have a cap apart from overall, obviously it's kind of totally irrelevant. I mean, it's relevant, as in, like, you can just put them in and you're not going to have any issues. So that is quite nice. Like, I think for the season pass ones, for example, it can be a good opportunity, especially with some of them gaining a playstyle, to get them into, one of those playstyle Evos before they then would be above the limit for the playstyle Evo. So it's worth looking out for those things if you kind of want to play around with it. But yeah, it is kind of complicated and slightly awkward. We'll get onto Evos a bit more in a bit, because they've definitely changed a bit over the last week or so, for sure. And yeah, is there anyone else people want to kind of mention as sort of standouts from the UEFA Prime Time? I mean, there's a lot of players. I think Josh is just sort of scrolling through them on screen. It's quite a big batch of players, which is always good. I guess, you want to see a lot of live items out there, because it kind of means at least some of them will get upgrades, I guess.
Exactly. In terms of prime time, I would say that 𝘵𝘆 actually surprised me how good he was. I was watching a lot of people use him in Weekend League, and he kind of lived up to the hype. Usually, I expect those, like, hyped up wingers in the promo cards to not live up to the hype, but he seemed pretty good, even without the Playstyle Plus. But I do want to go back. I mentioned somebody that was linking to 𝘵𝘀𝘀 that I used, and it's not a prime time card, but it's 𝘵𝘰𝗱𝗰𝘀𝘁. He got the upgrade. He was kind of nuts, actually. I was very surprised. Crazy agility. I want to say he's got, it's just ISI. Yeah, there you go, that guy. Yeah,
his second name is Palazon, by the way. That's just ball
really?
knowledge. Some of us are blessed with ball knowledge.
Yeah, he's bald, so he's easy to navigate on the pitch. 90 agility. It was crazy. At first I thought he got 99 dribbling boost, not 99 shooting, but the shooting was cracked. Crazy amount of rolls as well, but yeah, he was absolutely cooking for me. I was really surprised with this card, even though it was 3-star. He was just, he kind of fit any position in, like, CM, Cam, whatever, ST. He really surprised me, but I don't know if he's gonna be worse after he loses his boost. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. We should maybe talk about that a little bit. I did want to actually, before we move on from primetime, mention 𝘵𝘀, because I mean, I know, he's not the only new hero, but he's the one that's the most iconic that's been added this week. And the card's not actually amazing, I would say. Like, I mean, he's got slide tackle plus, which is realistic. I mean, I know that's something he's kind of known for, the slide tackles, but in terms of the actual good play styles that he has, it's really only intercepts, which is a bit of a shame. And he does have 5 base and the plus. So his GG rating, for example, at holding is only 85.5, and he has box to box at 86.5. So it's not exactly the most, I don't know, strong first release for this 𝘵𝘀, but he definitely got the basis, obviously, to be a very good defensive midfielder.
My question is, so he's come out as a primetime hero. He can't get upgrades though, right? Because as far as I'm aware, Roma aren't in the Champions League and haven't been for 6 years.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't even thought about that.
So, I mean, I am finding it funny that we're poo-pooing a 𝘭𝑪𝘬𝑚 card released at the beginning of November. Look at him, bang average. But I mean, that is the game that we're playing now with the way that playstyles are.
Well, yeah. I mean, it does link us into that conversation about the screen players, right? I mean, obviously he has really strong stats, but the fact is that playstyles are super important. And I think you've seen a lot of sentiment, probably if you've been on social media, etc., that the 99 stat boosts are fake. Basically, people saying that they didn't actually boost the stats to 99. Players with 99 pace particularly don't feel like 99 pace. Same with the passing and shooting, etc. I think really that is because people have, in my view, and I think Josh's view as well, we've talked about it a lot on the podcast, it feeds massively into GG rating, have underrated base play styles versus stats for a long time.
Yeah,
and
true.
I think still probably do, Josh, and that's why people are like, oh, like this player feels slow. It's probably because they don't have rapid or quick step or whatever, and that does make a significant difference. The same with the not having shooting play styles, passing play styles, particularly like tiki-taka base and pinged base, make such a big difference to passing. And they did rebalance it going into this game, tried to make stats more important, but I think it's fair to say that still play styles are just really dominant.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's maybe exposed an illiteracy over how the game works in a lot of places. And I don't think that's necessarily the player base's fault. I don't think EA do anywhere near a good enough job of explaining what different things do in the game. But the reality is that if we've all played Mystery Ball at some point, we've been forced into that game mode through some objective. And when you get the dribbling boost, your players feel just as fast as the pace boost. And the fact that those two things work together means that if you've just got 99 pace, but you've still got crap dribbling, you're still going to feel not that quick on the ball. The other side to this is, just because you have 99 pace doesn't mean everyone else has 0 pace. And you can only have 99 pace. If someone else has base, 85 pace, but has a chem style on, they're probably going to be in that 90 pace range. You also have to dribble the ball. So you're not going to feel that quick compared to the players that you're playing against. Even before players had this screen boost, they had 99 pace in the game. Now, what I will say is, if you are someone who really doesn't think that these stat boosts work, I want you to play with 𝘬𝘯𝗶𝗹. I know he's 76k, but before he loses his 99 pace, give him a go. And then once he loses 99 pace, try and play him in a game. And you will go, oh yeah, no, it was working. So, I get it. On the point about playstyles, to bring it to the current promo as well, there is a left wing player, 𝘬𝘯𝘬𝘬𝘬. I think he used to play for Burnley, and I think he's in Greece now. And he's got tiki-taka plus at left wing. And I think he's probably the only player, one of only very few players who has tiki-taka at left wing. And I'm using him solely because he has tiki-taka at left wing. And that it's bananas that if you want to play like a quick passing play style, then you actually need the play style itself in order to do that. And having that play style plus, that's why I love Jordi Alba. That's why I really like that Busquets SBC. It's why I think Reinders and De Jong are go-to midfielders, because having tiki-taka as a playstyle plus allows you to actually play quick passes, accurate passes that don't, get intercepted or have the AI jump 5 yards across a passing lane to go and intercept it. And we does feel like we're back in that spot we have been in, where playstyles are more important than ever. They're really up there. I mean, when you try and play a through ball without incisive, you know about it. So yeah, I completely take people's point that 99 passing doesn't feel like 99 passing, but it is to do with play styles. As you said, same with the dribbling. I think pace less so. I don't think quick step and rapid are quite as impactful as they were. Rapid a little bit more, like you feel it with Nico Williams. You can feel his rapid allowing him to get behind defenders. But yeah, play styles are just as important as stats. So 99 passing might not feel like it if you don't have tiki-taka or incisive.
I think it's a really good point. I mean, I think we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but we do need to take a break, so we'll do that, and then we'll come back right after this break. Hello, and in this break, a quick reminder that the pod is made possible by supporters. The pod didn't used to be weekly. Yes, Foot Weekly wasn't actually weekly for a time. And then someone suggested setting up the Patreon. And since then, the pod has been weekly And in fact, it's been twice weekly because there is that supporter episode every single week. So if you'd like to catch that episode and keep the podcast going, it's just £3 a month to do so, and you get loads in return. And there are perks higher than that, including access to the Discord too. So if you're interested and would like to support the podcast, then head over and search support for weekly. Go to Patreon, and it's very easy to sign up. If you are a supporter keeping the podcast going, then a huge thank you for doing so. And if you do consider supporting, a huge thank you too. Right, let's jump back into the pod. Hello, welcome back after the break. So yeah, we were talking about those sort of scream boost or fake scream boost chew. Anything you wanted to add on that before we move on to talk about a few other things?
No, I think what Josh said actually makes a ton of sense. I wasn't even thinking about that with how the playstyles relate to the stats, things like that. I know people don't like how I don't get. How do I put this? I don't mind playstyles at all. I think they're kind of cool. I like it when it's like, I know this is video game territory, but it's based on a real life sport. But I do like it when it's like special abilities, and it's like you can like easily categorize players with the play styles. So for me, it's like a cool differentiator, which might be speaking to my EA brain. I should have mentioned in the past, I did work for EA at the start. In the intro, I should have mentioned I used to work for EA. So on the EA standpoint, it's just way easier to market the players and to bring more variety to the game. So I don't mind it in that sense. Even as a player, I'm just like, okay, cool. It looks like special abilities. It's, I think it's more interesting than just regular stats. I think stats could only take it so far. So I get when people don't like playstyles being so important, but at the same time, it's like, what else could we have done with the players to get this far and make Ultimate Team still this interesting without putting playstyles in? It cannot. I mean, EA. Let's be real. They put playstyles in just so they can sell more informs. I'll be real. I don't mind it. So I don't necessarily like when everybody's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe playstyles are so important." I mean, like, what else are they gonna do? What else are we gonna do? If not, we'll be saying that like, "Oh, the stats don't feel like this stat 99 pace." Even if playstyles were there, we'd be still saying 99 pace doesn't feel like 99 pace. That's what we were complaining about in FIFA 17.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's always...
right? Like, yeah. I don't really get it.
There's an important, interesting point on that, though, I've always felt, is that, yeah, sure, they introduced playstyles, made them really strong, but I think they were always thinking about the playstyle pluses, which obviously show on the card, right? So there's quite an obvious thing that tells you this player has something special when you just look at the player. But the base play styles are really strong, and they often have more of them, but they don't show on the card itself. Whereas like the player's stats, the face stats, show on the card. So I think there is like this bias that people still have slightly towards things that show on the front. And so, which is kind of silly when you think about it, because obviously Foot.gg makes it look as if skill moves and weak foot are always on the front, but they're not obviously in the game. You have to go in to look at those. Same with positions even, actually. So I think like there is this weird thing where it's like something very powerful isn't actually shown to players, and it's not like base play styles are going to be shown in the marketing materials for a new campaign, even though they're really important. Whereas the face stats are. So I think there is a bit of a disconnect between the power of base play styles and the way they're like marketed, which I think like it would make sense for there to be more emphasis on the base play styles because they are a big factor. So that's maybe a bit of a shame. Actually, moving on to community sentiment, maybe we could come back to talking about a few players if we want to. Or did you want to come in?
Well, I was just going to say, I wonder if that's a barrier for entry, though. Like, if you're a new player and it's now not just the stats and this one symbol, it's this stat and 10 symbols, I don't know what any of them mean, that becomes even more... Like, I know for people that haven't played for, 3 or 4 years, they come back and go, like, what the hell? Why are there so many colors on the screen kind of thing? Like, so I can't imagine, like, what... Because it's interesting, in the primetime upgrade paths, they show the play styles being added as like the same playstyle symbol on the right hand side of the card. And so it's almost as if they have it in their head that they want to display it on the card, but it would just look too messy, which I think it would do.
Yeah, it is tricky. I mean, I know in other Ultimate Team style games, they actually just don't show like face stats, for example. It's just like overall, and then they'll have like maybe some abilities like play styles and things. So maybe there is almost an argument. Like, if I think that's the thing, the overall rating is so, as we talk about with GG rating, it's so inaccurate that we can't really use that to gauge the quality of a player. So it would be hard not to see face stats. And so that is kind of still an important thing. But maybe if overall rating did actually reflect the player's ability in game to a greater extent, and then we had the play styles, that would actually be a better indicator than face stats. But because obviously face stats, they hardly really do a good job when you consider their in-game stats, which play a big role too. So it's all gets a lot deeper than perhaps it needs to. Anyway, I was going to move us on. I don't know, actually, before we do move on, should just ask any kind of players people want to mention. I feel like SBCs wise, it's not been a particularly stellar week or so. I know we had a good week or two, but if there's anyone's used or wants to mention from the current selection, obviously we talked about 𝘵𝘃𝗃𝘀, who seems to be the standout.
It's probably worth pointing out we've had like the women's showdown cards. They've been pushed out and they've changed showdowns now, I think, back to being a +2 if you win. I think it had been at +1 and they've like changed it again. I don't know that anyone would have been upset if they'd have been over upgraded. I do want to say that I really like how they've taken man of the matches, not given us them for a while, and then now we're star performers are here as orange cards that reward good performances. However, I was being slightly facetious there. I do want to praise these cards because they are actually upgrading based on a player's performance. Yeah. So, like, Van der Ven has rapid plus and has 83 shooting because he scored a goal where he ran from essentially the edge of his own box and put it in and scored the goal. Dan Burn scored probably the most satisfying header that's ever been scored and has precision header. And whilst you would probably go, well, rapid and precision headers are not exactly what I want on my centre backs, we need a place in the game for fun, and I think these cards are fun. They're really good as well. I mean, like 1 million coins for that Van der Ven is going to tell you he's probably decent in game because his base is awesome. So I really like upgraded cards that really reference how they played in game. I think it's easier to do with the Champions League than it is with Team of the Week because, let's be honest, we're not watching performances from 100 different leagues that get Team of the Week cards, but most people will have seen Van der Ven's goal in the Champions League or Dan Burn's header. So I like these upgrades and if we can get more things like this that relate to real world performances, I think it helps with that kind of linking of IRL football and FC, and the fact that it's coming the same week we've got our first live promo, which is crazy to me that I think we're in early November and this is our first live promo. I wonder if that's an issue that we've had in terms of like balancing the power curve. You can't give too many good upgrades in an early live promo because it might make a card too good. But yeah, I think this promo as a whole has been pretty good. I just, as you say, I think the SBCs have maybe been a little lackluster.
Yeah. Also, nice of Osimhen to score a low-driven shot to make sure he gets his low-driven plus. Just make it a little bit more meta. But actually, yeah, I guess the one SBC we have had, we might as well all point out, Player of the Month Mbuemo. Yeah, I mean, actually, an interesting one where I reckon they've probably just decided, let's not make him too meta and make him more kind of obtainable for the sort of more casual United fans who might want to do him.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a low GG rating compared to the Scream. I believe, considering the 99 boost that he got into dribbling, so that's a huge jump there. But power shot on the Scream, okay. And then what was it on the POTM again?
Game Changer.
It was Game Changer, which, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of because I don't really Travella anyway. So for me, that's not like a huge improvement on playstyle. But like you said, POTM, just get more casual players in, more Man United players in. I mean, Man United fans in. We need all the happenings we can get right now, to be honest with you. So why not just give people something that they can look forward to? I'm like halfway through this SBC, but I'm just holding on to it for a future Evo potential for my United past and present. And they've been blessing us with a lot of United past and present players. I've almost made a full 11 already just from SBCs and objective players. So I'm not too mad. I guess they're kind of compensating for the fact that they knew we're not going to get anything in prime time because no European football. But I'm pretty happy so far this year with United past and present.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think
I
it's been
tweeted
pretty good.
the other day to say, for all of those complaining about United's past and present, we are about to have a 2-week European football promo. So, give us what we can while we can. I found this an interesting player of the month because this could have been one where they gave him finesse shot. I mean, let's be honest. Finesse shot is his kind of go-to finish, right? He cuts inside and hits it on his left foot. I've never seen him hit a trivela. So, they could have made this card much more desirable and much better and much more expensive and decided against it. I wonder if that was to not detract from his Scream card that was getting the boost at the same time. But again, in the same way that I was talking about Julii, like having finesse but being right-footed and only playing the right hand side, and Mbuemo is left-footed, has Trivela, can only play on the right side or at striker. So it's it's one of those cards that kind of just doesn't link up right now. But one of those that, if you do want to build a United squad, getting him in as a player who'll have a dynamic image that will be available for evolutions probably before Christmas. That's good. That's fun. It's really not too expensive at all, and the base stats are decent. I just think he's missing a couple of play styles. He's obviously missing 4-star weak foot. So fun. Glad that we've got a player of the month. But I think the last one we had was Harry Maguire, who was a lot more fun than this Mbuemo. So.
I mean, and speaking of evils, I'm one of those weird people that I cannot evo a player that does not have a dynamic. It makes me sick to my stomach. If he has a base image, I just can't do it anymore. Like I tried last year, I nearly threw up halfway or towards the end of the year when I've got this crazy stat player and he doesn't have a dynamic. So I'm not joking. I boycotted evos until I have more dynamic players. So now I've been kind of like actually evolving United players. Like I packed the team of the week, Harry Maguire. Luckily, he had a dynamic Welbeck. I normally wouldn't have even evolved Welbeck. I gave him a Tiki Taka plus. I had nobody else to give Tiki Taka plus to because nobody had dynamics. I gave it to Welbeck just because he had a dynamic. That's how far I will go to. I will waste a Tiki Taka plus. Yes, at 82 Welbeck, I wasted Tiki Taka plus. I put him in the training camp Evo as well because he was like one of the few United players at the time before that Evo expired that had a dynamic. So if there's anybody on this podcast that's like me, I cannot stand anything without a dynamic. It makes me sick.
It's an area I think is massively underutilized from EA, and I know that there's a licensing issue.
EA, sell me dynamics. I will buy them.
Could you imagine?
I don't care. Just sell it.
It's so true. It was really, that's perfect, like cosmetic.
Yeah, they're money hungry. Yeah, I don't care. I'll buy it.
Imagine you wouldn't be able to do it for every player because you're going to struggle to get dynamics of a under 18s player in the Chinese league. But I do think like Premier League, go through like top 5 leagues to begin with. Every single player, they all have a media day. They all have multiple photos taken of them. Just have the rights to one of those photos as a dynamic image that you can unlock. And for the big players, have multiple that you can unlock. People will spend money or coins on that. They just will do.
How much would you spend? I'll spend like a decent 25K coins. Yeah.
I think that's probably what, 50 FIFA, 50 FC points or 25K coins or 15K coins. I think you'd get a lot more people buying that than people would like to admit.
Imagine they did like kind of limited edition ones, like there's only like 10,000 of them or something. Like I don't know, it's a player shushing.
Yeah,
I think it could go pretty wild. I think.
Whilst we're on the topic of dynamic images, I want to say I'm a little disappointed in Scream. I thought we were going to get like a fun, like upgrade dynamic card design in the background.
Oh, when they go to 99.
When they went to 99, and it's just nothing. Like even if it had been like the moon wasn't there and it was just stars in the original one, and then the moon came in when they were on the full moon upgrades. Like it didn't need to be that dramatic. It's just they don't look any different, and I think visually they do need to look different just for that. Like, oh yes, they have 99 stats, but
it's worth noting. The next upgrade is the 5th of the next month.
Yes,
around then for the next 99s, and I guess it may be worth thinking which players didn't get a very favorable 99 boost, because you'd expect they might get a favorable one for the next 99 boost. And also that the players are going to get plus rolls, aren't they?
Are you working on the understanding
campaign.
that they're going to get a different stat boosted to 99? Because I would be expecting it's exactly.
Do you think it's going to be
one.
exactly the same? Oh, interesting. I assumed it would be different. I'm kind of basing that on the previous way they did the last time they did the 99 boost for Scream, which was like 6 years ago, but it did change each time. But yeah, no, maybe it is the same one. But I suspect it probably won't be. I think that would be more interesting, but we'll find out. And then, yeah, I guess the thing I was going to move on to, Chu, is something that you always point out at this time of year. I don't know if you know what I'm going to say, but this time in the cycle is, I mean, I guess it's what we're post honeymoon period, you'd say, and maybe the content isn't captivating people as much because we've seen weeks and weeks of Ultimate Team content, and there is this sort of like, I don't know, disgruntled noise, or I would say noise. I think it's more than a noise. People kind of get a bit, I don't know, burnt out perhaps. And every year, I think you basically tweet the same thing, saying this is the time of year when people get fed up. And do you think that's happened again at this point?
Yes, and I'll send you the tweet. Is it? I don't know if it's Josh or yourself who I should send it to. I'll send it to Josh. I think he was controlling the screen. But so again, for the podcast listeners, I was a community manager between FIFA 12 and 16. I was paid money to sit around and watch Twitter comments. Sounds like a nightmare. It was the best and worst job at the same time. But like, one thing I personally am good at for myself is patterns. I just notice patterns. Like my girlfriend, or now fiance, actually.
Oh yeah, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes. I have to say that because she watches everything now, so she'll make sure I say that. But like, we'll be on a flight, and I'll be like, 2 weeks later, I'll notice, that person was on our flight 2 weeks ago. She'd be like, how'd you notice that? I don't know. I just remember the handbag they had or something like that. I don't know. But I remember what people tweet about year on year. I don't know why. Mainly because of the job. Because when I was at EA, every Friday evening before we left work, I would have to send a report to the executive team at EA just about what everybody's complaining about, what's going on in the community. So like, I'll literally on Friday night, this is the worst thing ever. Friday night, I'll be sitting around reading tweets from YouTubers all day and be like, yo, this person hates this person hates that. And usually the same thing happens at the same time every year, really. This is a repeat of FIFA 18, in my opinion. Like we saw with the patch changed it, because before that we had like quick gameplay. You could turn so much. Now you can't turn, and same thing's happening right now. But usually every year, like mid-November, I'm telling you, everybody gets really angry. It's about to happen. It's starting to happen. You felt it like today after this weekend league. In about a week, you're going to see people say the game is dead. We're approaching the game is dead period. They haven't said it just yet, but just watch like a week or two. It's always right before Thunderstruck, because I always have these discussions with people. The game is dead. The game is dead. And then Thunderstruck comes up, and then everybody forgets about the game is dead. It happened the first Thunderstruck, I remember. It happened last year. It's going to happen again. But I think it's just like this hangover where like anticipation of the game comes out. People like it, people don't like it. Everyone's arguing, patch this, patch that. The patch goes back. And then it's just like an exhaustion, and then everybody's a bit fed up. But I don't know if like a update or patch did it. It's just that like people are adapting to the game anyway. People are learning new things, new ways to play anyway. The cards are getting better anyway. So like we're figuring out ways to just like frustrate each other in game. Mechanics or not, I mean, we're figuring out what the mechanics are to frustrate others to get wins. Because again, FC is just a game about pissing your opponent off. And we just learned how to do it better, like as around this kind of time. And people were really excited. They thought, it's going to be different. This year is going to be different. Because, look, EA did communicate a lot better. As someone that had to communicate to the public, the amount of communication they're doing right now is, I used to get like called into rooms for even saying a quarter of the things that they're able to say now, which I still can't believe they're able to say this. But maybe people thought that it's going to be a different year. I think things are different in certain ways, but at the same time, I think our feedback to the changes, I don't think that the FC community doesn't like change. So the thing is that EA can change things, but we're always gonna like give feedback that makes us want to get back to the previous game that we just had. It's very odd. It's like we want a new game, but then we're not as good at this new game, but we want to go back to the comfort of the old game because we got good at the old game. So the feedback goes, the game goes forward to the next year, but then our feedback makes it kind of go back to halfway. So then you kind of get like, oh, this is FC 25.5. Yeah, because we want to go back to that because we're good at that. We're losing now. So, oh my God, I don't want fidget spinning. But like before 25, everyone's like, yo, I want to be able to turn on my left stick. You got left stick turning now, and then you see half the community being like, oh my God, left stick is so stupid. I was like, but like a year ago, you were saying that we needed left stick dribbling. And that was like, everything's all stiff and boring in 24, 25. We get there now, and then people want to go back to what they were complaining about. It's like a weird, it's a psyop. I don't know what it is about this community. It's like some kind of crazy, I feel like I've been like Truman Show or something like that. But that's the tweet there. Sorry for the long ramble, but other games start to come out like Call of Duty around this November time. People get distracted. People go find other games to play, and then they say they're fed up with Ultimate Team. It sucks, blah, 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 this and that. And then Thunderstruck comes out, they come back, and everybody's playing the game again because games that come out yearly just don't last as long as Ultimate Team.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder whether EA slightly recognise this, and that's why they've put like a live campaign now, so that it's something a bit different, but also obviously these cards that are released still have relevance moving forward. So it's not just for the time they're released, and so there's kind of like whereas other content maybe doesn't have the longevity that live content does. This will have longevity, and so they're not sort of like releasing stuff to a smaller player base. Well, they are releasing stuff to a smaller player base, but at least that content is something that's going to be there when they come back, perhaps when, as you said, Thunderstruck comes and Black Friday, and they ramp it up and get people back onto the game. But one thing that's interesting in terms of sort of the gameplay perspective, actually, Josh, this isn't a gameplay episode, so I won't go too much into it, but they have done kind of more significant patches and made more tweaks early on in the cycle. And I don't know that necessarily in my mind at the moment, gameplay is actually the biggest frustration people have. It just feels like a kind of, the like honeymoon period has ended, as you're saying, this is kind of just how people feel each cycle.
I don't totally agree with that. Like, I think as a whole, I think this game has changed quite dramatically from the first week, just in terms of definitely from a responsiveness perspective, like even just the ability to play, like one frame passing was something that was pushed a lot in the promo before the game started, and you could feel it in those first few weeks. I don't feel that anymore. It feels like passing is how it's been before, where you do have to kind of still preempt when you're going to pass the ball. And there is definitely, and this might be due to the fact that people are getting better players with better stats, better roles, but it feels like the defensive AI is far more active than it has been, or at least was at the beginning of the game. But all of those things are caveated by the fact that the player base is decreasing, right? And that happens. The game comes out, there's loads of people playing. That's when all the casuals are playing. Casuals naturally drop off the game as you get towards November. You hit November where it's pretty much only the hardcore players that are left. And now every game's sweaty, every game's difficult. And yeah, it is, because you're only playing against people that will play the same game for 2 months. Like, look, most people don't engage with gaming in that way, or don't engage with gaming on the level that the hardcore community do. They definitely won't be playing champs. And we're into the second season now, so people have been automatically relegated. So even if they are jumping onto rivals for a few games, they're probably now a division or two below where you would expect them to be. And so everything feels more competitive. You combine that with the fact we now have a community that is like totally geared towards how do you cheese the game? How do you kind of like exploit the worst parts of this game in order to get ahead. If there was a glitch that allowed people to just win a game, but they had to sit there and not do anything for 15 minutes, they would do it, because winning is the important thing. It's not having fun playing some nice brand of football. It's just winning. And that is both the fault of us as a community, and I think the fault of EA for pushing the competitive side of the game as hard as it has been done in recent years. The sentiment I want to call out that I'm seeing a lot at the moment is, it's really funny because I hadn't seen this tweet. It's worth saying the tweet that's been on screen from Chu was last year, not this year. And the one it's referring to is the year before. But in that initial tweet was, after EA releases a few patches, we get frustrated and call it the worst FIFA ever, and that last year's FIFA was so much better, even though we said last year's FIFA was the worst this time last year. People said 𝘵FC25 was the low point, the worst game that we've ever had. And I'm seeing people say that this game is worse. I think this game is less fun, but I don't think it was worse than last year's game. And I think that revisionism of how much you felt like you actually enjoyed last year's game probably should inform you about how much you're actually enjoying this year's game, because it's never as bad as how it feels. Most people feel bad about this game after they've lost, not after they've won.
Yes.
And that's a natural thing. So I get this frustration, and I don't want this to be an absolution of the like bad elements of this game that have not been sorted out. I wanted the changes to this game to be little and often, and it feels like they've gone 100, like straight into this first massive patch that changed things people didn't even ask about. I don't think that much needed changing, but I think a lot of these things are absolutely inevitable in a yearly release cycle that is not going to hold the attention of casual players 3 months into the game release. It's just not a reality that's going to happen, which is why when we get Thunderstruck and they do this big promo and there's hype again and people talking about it, people come back to the game and people playing it go, oh, I'm having fun because I'm getting these new players. No, you're just playing against a wider player pool that's going to include worse players. Like, the reason Champs feels horrific at the moment is because every game is very difficult, because everyone's pretty decent at this game now. There are very few kind of casual players left, especially in Champs. That also links into the fact rewards aren't great. It doesn't feel like you can progress your team as much, because it feels like you get to like this 250k team that has, you know, 𝘭𝑪 and Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal and those sorts of players, and you don't really need to upgrade it, and the actual upgrades become quite difficult to attain. So it's all a natural part of the cycle. That's not to say that it's right, and it's not to say that this game is good, because I don't think it is right now. I think it was good when it came out, and I don't think it does right now, and I recognize I might be falling into the very trap I'm preaching against. But I do like I think that we'll always get to this, and we'll hit Black Friday and everyone will go like, oh, this is awesome. And then it'll lull again going into winter wildcards because it's not called Footmas. And apparently that difference is everything. And then we'll get into Team of the Year and people will be like, oh, Team of the Year is great again. We'll probably get 2 gameplay patches between now and then. And again, watch the reaction. If the first 3 tweets you see about the patch is that it's bad, it will be the worst patch ever, because that's all anyone takes their opinion from. And if the first 3 tweets that you see say it's good, that will be the prevailing opinion. So it's always going to be a mess. I think the community is just as much to blame as EA are. And I don't know that we'll ever break out of this when we're in a yearly release cycle.
Yeah, you brought up a lot of great points. And I'm happy people are saying this now, because imagine having these thoughts, Josh, in 2012 and 2013, and I thought I was crazy. I'm like talking to myself in like rooms. I'm just like, because again, back then, Ultimate Team wasn't as big as it was now. In EA, like there was only a few of us working on it, and I'm just seeing the reaction. I'm just like, yo, from 12 to FIFA 13, same reaction. 13 to 14. I'm going crazy. I have no one to talk to about this. So I'm glad that people are seeing that, like, okay, wait, EA really was like, yo, we're listening. In the community, you saw with that patch, like, half the people, and this was even a surprise to me, because I feel like the places that we go to follow the community on Twitter, it's kind of like an echo chamber, people saying like, oh my God, why did they remove R1 dribbling? And then I kind of saw people coming out of the woodwork be like, actually, yeah, I fucking hate R1 dribbling. I'm like, yo, you guys existed? But then on Twitter, we don't know. We just hear the same kind of sentiment. But I feel like there was just like a side of the community that doesn't, I think when they're happy, they're not yapping on Twitter. They're not yapping on social media anywhere. They're just playing the game. And they might not like something. And then they have a chance to come out the woodwork and voice their opinion. There's two separate opinions. I remember running a poll, be like, do you like the patch or not? It was literally 50-50 with one vote in between the tally. I was just like, this is insane. Like you said, it's a yearly cycle. Casuals, unfortunately, dictate this game because casuals bring the most sales. We played the longest. We're cycles we play, but then they still have to dictate the casual to some way. It's kind of annoying. It's kind of frustrating, but it's just how it is. And I just don't know if there's a solution to it. Like, again, I've been trying to figure out a solution for like 12. This is my 14th year in this industry, 4 years working in it. I couldn't figure it out internally. I almost went insane. And, you know, you kind of touched on it where the FIFAs and FCs that you like are the ones that you're good at. If you're not good at it, then it sucks. It's the worst FIFA. It's the worst FC ever. So, you know, people are never going to look internal and be like, well, maybe I'm part of the problem. They're going to be like, no, I'm losing. This sucks. And then some people who think like that have huge accounts and they just tell everybody this sucks. You could probably go to a lot of accounts and then scroll back to exactly this week last year. They were saying the same thing last year. I swear to God, because I remember these two. I have like this weird memory. I'm just like, yo, I don't know. I should call people out, but there's one guy that was like, you know, one of those like, they're like those faceless news accounts. You could probably know the one I'm thinking about. Whereas, like, I think the guy was like tweeting like, "Is it just me or like, does it feel like this game is dead or this game is the worst thing ever?" I was like, "Bro, I swear." Like, I had a little flashback. Like, bro, I swear I saw that tweet last year. I said the same account. I swear I have to go back. I was trying to go back in his history to find it. I couldn't scroll back, but I'm like, bro, I had a weird flashback. I was like, bro, I swear I saw that tweet last year. So people are saying certain things to get sentiment, to get views, to get Elon bucks, to get this. So they're just yapping for the sake of yapping. I don't know.
I do want to just pick up on something that was briefly mentioned, though. We actually had a question about it in Pod Priority Questions from nhendy83 last week. And he said, my question would be to do with community feedback, but relates to gameplay. Do you feel EA are listening to the community too much as opposed to backing their own game? And I actually agree. I think there's a difference between communication and we're listening. And UFL had a lot of hype when it came out because they paid the right content creators to hype it up. And then they listened to the community and they made changes and they made the game less fun because people don't like losing. And I think that there has to be more. Were corners broken? Absolutely. Were kickoffs broken? Absolutely. Fix those two things. There is a difference between I can't defend and you cannot defend a kickoff. They are two very different issues. So I think that's where there's listening to the community, accepting when they've got grievances. That's one thing. Acting on them is totally different. And I think that's maybe where we've got too far now into we'll make the game you want. Well, the game that people want is the one that they win in and you lose in. And if everyone has that opinion, what game, you can't make that game without everyone just playing squad battles, which they've made harder as well. Who wanted harder squad battles anyway?
Actually, no, people actually did, which is weird. I found some people in my replies that did, which is, again, I couldn't believe myself, but they exist. They wanted more games than squad battles. I was like, what? But anyway, I'm so glad people are seeing this with their eyes now. Because again, Josh, that same thing that you just said, it was my job to listen to these people in the community with huge accounts, with this, that, and then like I implement the changes that they want, and then they still complain about the same thing that they asked for. Because in my opinion, and I remember saying this publicly like a decade ago, you can't fully listen to the community. This community is insane. You can't. For me, my ratio was like 60% of the time you listen to 40% of the time say, "Excuse my language, fuck off, dude." Like, because there's so many different factions of the community. The traders want the game this way. The gameplay, the pros want it that way. The content creators want it that way. In fact, that's why they have the design council now. The reason I actually made that design council initially, I created it for FC, was I got people who were not content creators at all. They had no skin in the game. I invited at the time the head of FUTWiz Dan, and some guys on Reddit that had like no, like, they weren't going to earn anything necessarily from the game being better. The reason I added community sites because like they just want people to play the game, so people visit their sites, but they don't have like content to manipulate people's opinions on the game. So I created that entity because it's like, if I just take feedback from people who have some kind of incentive to make people feel a certain way about the game, and you implement their changes, then it just screws it for like a whole other group of the community. So everybody has their own like interests, and you just can't listen to everybody because it's just going to ruin it for half the people, as we're just seeing. And it's like there's no way to win. Like that's how I felt. I literally felt helpless because I was like, if I appease this one fan base, this other fan base is going to kill me. So listen to them like half the time, 60% of the time, because if you change everything for them, they're still going to be miserable, and then they're going to play less. That's a funny thing. When they start losing, they play less. Even like, oh, increase the pack weight. Actually, if you increase the pack weight, people play less because they get all the players that they want, and then they get bored, then they go away. So you actually want the pack weight to be more. To be less, excuse me. Because we saw with that 𝘵ci thing, the team there 𝘵ci thing, was that 2 FCs ago? Let's say even 5% of people got 𝘵ci. Do you see how angry people were? So people are actually angry when the pack weight is higher because more people get more things that they don't have. So they don't like them having more things than me. So I hate the game even more. So you just can't listen to them all the time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, these are all really good points. We need to move on to other things, but I think this is all important conversations. And having that internal perspective, we were meant to have an internal perspective podcast from EA itself, which unfortunately didn't get approved and that is now outdated to the point at which we'll probably, if we do have one out, it will be a new recording. So just a heads up to listeners who are waiting for that one. So there might be just a new one that pops up outside of our regular schedule at some point to fill in for that one. We shall see. But the other thing I was going to say is, interestingly, I think what this all brings us round to is actually, ironically, the most important thing is that those like more casual, less sticky players play the game. And actually, funnily enough, although people have all these things that they want the game right for themselves, actually, I think if the game was better for that sort of bulk of players who do float in and out of the game, then the game is going to be more enjoyable for the players who are better than that pool of players, who can then start to pick up more wins and to have a bigger matchmaking pool and to kind of have more accurate matchmaking, which has definitely been a problem over this last weekend and actually throughout the cycling champs to an extent. But so I think I think it's actually important for the hardcore community to realize that the game being accessible and also fun and also playable for casual players or for players who come in and out is actually really important for them too. And I think that's something that a lot of kind of committed players wouldn't necessarily pick up on as being as important. So important to say that. And I think we should take a break there. I think we should take a break there because we want to come back and just talk a little bit about EVOs and League SBCs before we go. We can squeeze that in just after this break. Hello, welcome back after the break. So, as we don't have loads of time, I think what we're going to do, and actually this makes a lot of sense, is on the Supporter Gameplay podcast this week, we have Ivan Dr. Nightwatch on, and we know that he likes to tinker with his EVOs and perfects players and things like that. So I think Josh and I will chat to him a bit about the current EVOs, what we're looking for from our players, and I've built some kind of monster EVOs at the moment that have been going really well, so we'll maybe cover that in some depth, because there would be a lot of EVOs to run through. And I know with Taz last week, Josh, you talked about the kind of different approach they've taken to EVOs more recently. I mean, it's quite obvious. There are more paid EVOs, there are more powerful EVOs generally. And actually, from your perspective, Stu, I know that the start of the cycle, I mean, EVOs are a big part of the content that actually we, funnily enough, collaborate on because we do some of the FUT.GG social content. The sort of more strong EVOs we see do really well on social media. Like, people really want to know who are the best options, things like that. And you're really seeing that again at the moment because these EVOs are quite strong, even if they're paid. Whereas at the start of the cycle, Chu, you were just like, they're going to have to change EVOs. These small upgrades might actually lead to more powerful players in a weird way because it's not upgrading the overall. But actually, if there's one thing you know about hype, Chu, is hype. And there just wasn't that hype around EVOs as a result of these.
Yeah, and it kind of takes me back to like community feedback. And I know everybody wanted... My theory with everybody, slower power curve, we want it. The community doesn't want a slower power curve. They get bored. They have no attention span. they need to see big boosts. They need to see them quickly. So I think EA kind of noticed that, and they're trying to do little incremental upgrades. But I think maybe the daily active users was going down or something like that, because even I was kind of checking out mentally with Evos if I didn't see a big boost versus little ones. So I don't think the community likes a slower power curve. They're absolutely lying. The Evo I want to bring up though is I did maybe I'll send it to Josh to put on screen. I did get that Bobby Charlton cheesed Evo done before. That card is insane. I absolutely love that card. It really feels good. It does not. I mean, it's 84 rated right now, but I think it even feels. It's got 87.5 GG rating, but for me, it even feels better than that. The low driven is insane. He's got power shot, but just the low drivens are absolutely crazy. So that's my personal favorite. I gave him the. He's got a dynamic, so he's in the club. And I gave him. My usual goal is to end the year with United Past and Present Evos, and they all have the red champs dynamic. So he is the first one to go in there. Special shout out to the. This is for City, but the Ryan Cherokee Evo, because that Evo, the one that just came out, generally feels like an upgrade. I don't have him in my GG club on this. I didn't put him in this squad, but he actually generally feels like an upgrade. I'm like, yo, this guy is actually rapid. So for me, it's one of the few Evos that generally felt like it matched the boost that he got. It feels like a little.
It's expired, isn't it now? But
that one right there.
Yeah.
Oh my
It's
God.
interesting, actually. Just a little tease. I actually found that my 𝘱𝘁 was worse after I put him in that Evo for me personally. And I'll get into that on the gameplay podcast this week. So if people want to know why such a big upgrade to pace could make a player feel worse, we'll do that on that podcast. But yeah, no, you made a good point about the glitched Evos for those World Tour Superstar Silver players. That's something that I guess if you got in and changed the rarity of those players, it was one particular cosmetic, wasn't it, that you could buy, which was glitched, so you could apply it to those players. There've been two. Okay, so it's worth looking out for that, I guess, isn't it? Like checking out the store every so often, maybe at 6 p.m, just see if they've accidentally not included that restriction, and then you might be able to start evolving that player once you change their rarity. It's almost bound to happen, and actually, with that Pele, that is a frightening prospect because the Pele looks very, very strong, right? In fact, I was looking at his stats and kind of his play styles, and was like, I'm sure he'd actually be pretty good even as a 74, like with golds. He has like some of the key meta play styles in terms of having like finesse, technical plus, incisive. Tricks is really nice as well for the fake shots, and quick step's good too, I guess. Not the fastest, but quick step. No, that's an interesting one. I think actually we should just wrap up on. I know we haven't done too much on Evos, but we'll talk about it on the gameplay podcast. But just wrap up on League SBCs, because Josh, obviously, you said that they were out there maybe 2 weeks ago, and basically said they weren't really worth committing to, but I guess now things are a bit different.
Yeah, so the problem with the first set of league upgrades that we got was that they both contained a Libertadores and Sudamericana section. Now, that has been the case for the past 2 years, and it's not really been that much of an issue before. However, because River and Boca aren't included in the Libertadores or Sudamericana, the number of golds has reduced dramatically, which means they reduced the requirements for the premium or the major leagues upgrade. And that meant that there was a lot of them buying pressure on bronzes and silvers. So not only was the premium mixed league upgrade still expensive because you still needed those Sudamericana and Libertadores cards, the mixed leagues upgrade, which is the lower one, was insanely expensive compared to the pack you got back because of the increase in pressure on the prices of the Lib and Sud section. So the only change it needed to do was to remove the Libertadores and Sudamericana section from the lesser league upgrade. And fair play, that's exactly what they did. We've got the Saudi League and Romanian Superliga now as that first section. All the requirements are still the same, still 60 rating, still 6 players max from the same club. It used to be min. It's interesting they've switched quite a lot of that around. The fact you can have 2 players from the same club in all of the teams now as well just makes it a lot easier in terms of squad building. So League SBCs are kind of back and kind of in a much better place. And the mixed leagues upgrades, as a self-confessed BPM nerd, is definitely where I focus most of my attention, because I can sell all of my like major league bronzes, and I can sell my Libertadores and Sudamericana bronzes and use everything else either to go into the silver upgrades or to go into the mixed league SBC. And you can kind of essentially build up a bit of a pack balance whilst also maintaining your coins. And then if you hit a big player from one of the tradable packs, you then kind of like, that's where you make your coins. So yeah, it's in a much better spot than it was in the previous set. And if we get player picks tonight, which is what is rumored, then it will be a great place to put your off-league golds that are beginning to build up now. So yeah, like, good change. I'm glad they made it. It didn't require that much thought or effort. And so, now we've got a kind of League SBC grind. I'm interested in the fact that they're releasing them every 2 weeks. And I wonder if that means we'll see more changes to these as it goes on, because usually they put them up for like 2 or 3 months. Or if they'll, maybe keep the leagues on rotation, so we'll get different leagues in them. Like, I am surprised we haven't had league upgrades that included women's leagues yet. That would seem an obvious change to me at some point. I get that menus is a side of the game a lot of people find very boring, but this is kind of what I live for. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good to see.
I appreciate it. I love menus too. Don't worry.
Yeah. Nice. Well, I think that does wrap us up. The only bit of content I guess we didn't maybe mention was the pick between 𝘵𝘵𝗫𝘀𝘁 and 𝗪𝘀𝘀, which I think, I feel like these little pick SBCs, I say little, obviously some of them are expensive.
They're good.
They have been solid, actually. And I think it's nice to see a little bit more variety in terms of the icons that people are running around with as a result of this. And that's been quite good at it.
There was another one since we've last done a content podcast, which did the thing I said they shouldn't do, which was include a goalkeeper. It was between 𝘵𝗱𝗁𝘀, Beckham and Lahm. And if you didn't get Khan from your pre-order icon pack, or even if you did and don't like him, which I'm seeing a lot of sentiment on, then a lot of people were going to go for the Peter Schmeichel, which is why I think you're seeing him in a lot of teams right now. Probably worth just mentioning those icons. We're not too far away from them upgrading to their kind of higher rated version, so that could see a bit of a change in people's squad makeup. A lot of those icons you may forget are in your club at 85 and 86 rated might actually be usable again. Yeah.
Incredibly, I'm actually currently using the Gerrard still in my squad, partly for chemistry reasons. He gets subbed at half time, but he's actually all right. Like, he's kind of more acceptable than I imagined. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether people get those players back into their squads at that point, and how generous the upgrades actually are, because you can never be quite sure until you see it in the flesh. Nice. Well, that does wrap us up. A nice long episode and plenty of things discussed. Chu, it's been nice to have you back on the podcast. Thanks very much for joining.
No problem. Glad to be here. You guys can find me at ChuBoi on social media platforms. But glad to be back, and free to be back anytime.
Yeah. Nice. And thank you very much as well to Josh. It's been nice to have you on.
Yeah, good to be here. And thank God 𝗏𝗏 did score that header in that last minute. Otherwise, me and Chu might have had a head-to-head about Ruben Amorim's managerial capabilities.
Oh, that's a whole nother podcast. I will die on this hill. My God, that guy is pissed. He might be worse than Ten. He is worse than Ten Hag. I'll say that right. This guy is he's a criminal.
Chu just making sure he gets in some engagement at the end. I like it. You've had enough engagements this week, haven't you?
Yes, that's true. And Eminem almost messed up my engagement weekend. That fraud. Sorry.
That's right. And we should say finally, thank you very much to all you listeners tuning in. You can subscribe on all the podcast platforms, on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, if you're catching this on YouTube, drop a like, leave a comment. We read all the comments. And if you'd like an extra podcast every week, including that gameplay episode we were talking about, then do head over and support on Patreon. It's just £3 a month. You get double the podcast content over there. Just search support for weekly or follow the link in the description. And finally, thank you very much to all those supporters for keeping the podcast going, and to those icon patrons. Dave B, Darren W, Hugh J, Rob W, Josh R, Ralph, Brian, Michael B, Adam R, Make B, Michael H, Rob S, Michael K, Neil P, Jake S, Tom B, Alex M, Damon H, L, James B, Sam K, The Shirt Locker, Lee A, Chris G, Mark M, Dom P, Rob P, Roger D, Waterman, Also Ran, and Juicy. Plus a special thanks to Luke M, Dave B, Hugh J, Tom M, Darren W, and Pato Foot for advice and production assistance. Before I leave you, just one more thing to add though. Ultimate Team is a bit like life really. It has its many ups and downs. If you're having a few more downs than ups in real life in these more difficult times, then please don't feel that you're alone or need to struggle on without taking action. If you go to thecalmzone.net, there's loads of resources, advice, support, or even just a friendly chat for anyone who needs it. If it sounds like it could help you, then head over to thecalmzone.net. And for now, have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next podcast.